And hello everyone, how's it going? My name is Henry and welcome back to another exciting airplane video. For today, if you cannot tell by our wonderful foreground here, we are learning about grass strips, how to take off, land, maneuver, and all the cool performance things that you may or may not want to know when taking off from one of these guys. So today we're going to take up DA40, we're going to be flying out of Collingwood, and we're just going to be going through a few things that you should probably know. So again, we're going to go through some standard techniques. Again, I'm not a replacement for a CFI, real flight training. Ask your instructor in a textbook if you have any questions, but today we're just going to go through the brevity of, oh, look at this little guy, he's got his music on, that's pretty cool. See you later. Let's jump into that and take a quick look at how performance can be changed when taking off from a grass strip instead of a standard runway. Alright, so the first part about performance, we're going to be using an iPad app called Geronimo. It's basically a little performance app for a DA40 aircraft, but of course you have your POH for whatever aircraft you're going to be using, and they even have other aircraft apps, so they have a whole suite of aircraft that you can choose from. Today we're going to be using the 40 because that's what I fly. So again, for today we're talking about grass strips. Now in the POH, the nice thing about this app is that you can actually go, for example, select Takeoff and actually look at the charts from the POH. So if you know your charts, you probably recognize this one. And basically what the app does is that you're able to change the temperature like this, and you can actually see how the app uses the POH charts to find your results for takeoff and landing. Now, before we start that, let's just go back ISA temperature for a sec. Let's look at the DA40's POH in regards to grass. All right, so looking at our little context menu here, we can see that we have a section in the POH manual for the DA40 about grass and how to calculate distances for takeoff. So, looking at this, I can see grass up to 5 centimeters, you add 10%. 5 to 10 is 15%, grass longer, 25%, and even just you shouldn't take off if it's above 25 centimeters. All right, you also have wet grass and just uphill slopes and whatnot. So we're going to start with the basics here. So if I just close this for a second. So we're just going to be using this weight and bounce. So let's just say you're taking a friend, 193, 205, cool beans. Let's talk about taking off on a grass strip. All right, I'm going to set ISA conditions. So it's 13 degrees because we're almost 1,000 feet above ground here. All right, so let's use takeoff using a standard weight of 2,400 pounds. All right, so takeoff elevation 800 feet, outside air temperature is ISA, so 13 degrees at around 800 feet there, and standard 29902. All right, so again, looking at our notes, let's say, for example, if we're using 5 centimeters, so it's been freshly cut, we have to add 10%. So right now on our right, we can see our ground roll is going to be 968 feet, and the total takeoff distance, which includes a 50-foot obstacle, is going to be 1,422 feet under ISA conditions here. If I add 10% of that, look how much that changes, right? Not a whack load, but if you're only working with like a 1,300-foot runway, and then all of a sudden the temperature goes above 25 degrees, things are starting to get a little bit different there, eh? Like, you can definitely, especially with a 50-foot obstacle. So again, if I just set that back to ISA, 300 feet can be added there just because of temperature and grass. Not even to mention if it's long grass, etc., right? You can see a difference there. So let's just stay put and use 10%, all right? So according to 10%, we are going to be approximately just over 1,000 feet for our roll, and we need almost 1,400 feet for our ground roll. So under current mass, again, you guys should know this little screen here from your POH. But again, higher the mass, you can kind of see how that correlates with you're going to need more takeoff distance. Let's just bring that back down. Your elevation, so again, you're going to need more of a roll if you're higher elevation taking off, depending on wherever you are. And again, just a quick refresher, the higher the temperature, again, the greater the distance. When you have denser air is cooler, you can get off faster. Let's bring that back to 13 degrees. So soft field, short takeoff distance. There you go. That's it. So let's do our climb. Pretty standard. quick cruise. And now let's talk about landing with grass. So again, according different with every aircraft, let's see view notes and warnings for our wonderful landing here. So it says grass up to 5 centimeters can get 5% increase in landing roll. And again, depending how long that grass is, you can even go up to 25%. All right, and even if it's wet, so if it's recently been raining, you have to increase further 10% in landing roll. All right, so let's go back here. Let's get rid of this. Let's add our 5%. So again, let's say if we're landing there, standard ISA, there you go, at 800 feet for the airport. And let's add that 5%. So right now it's showing total landing distance of 1,952 feet, ground roll of 927. If I add 5% there, you can do it with a calculator, but I just like this app. It's nice and easy. There you go. Over 2,000 feet for our total landing distance for 50-foot obstacle, and the ground roll is going to be over 1,000 feet. So again, very important. You can see how grass, little things like this, like grass, can change. So let's go hop into the sim and let's see some maneuvering methods of taxiing on grass. Then we can just go over some takeoff and landing methods and see how those work. All right, so let's talk about maneuvering here. So as you can see, we're on a traditional runway, and it's kind of hard to see, but we do have a grass strip right next to us in front of us that we're going to be going on to. So when maneuvering on grass, it's pretty much kind of the same as your standard runway, but of course, you got to protect your nose wheel, right? Because like a wheelbarrow, if there's a hole or a gopher hole or something, first thing that's going to happen is that your prop might hit the ground if you dig in or even add more power. So as you can see, the first thing you do really is you maintain, well, especially if you're a tricycle aircraft like the 40, you want to keep your stick back so you're holding the nose off the ground as you taxi. So besides just keeping the stick back and looking out for gopher holes, golf holes, sticks, whatever, another thing you want to do is you want to make sure that you kind of keep moving, right? Because aircrafts, it's heavy, right? It's not like a truck or something, but it's not a 4x4 either. So especially if you have taller grass, you want to make sure that you keep the momentum up, right? Because as soon as you stop, then you're going to have to add a lot of power, and as soon as you do that, maybe you get fully stuck, or maybe you might hit the prop against something, which of course that's something you don't want to do with an airplane. So again, keep on rolling even when you have to wait for someone. I tend to just have like a little bit of a kind of like a little roll like this. Like you have to plan things out a little bit more. Like you can't just stop if it's a long grass. But yeah, no, keep on going. Keep that stick back pressure back. And if you do have to use the brakes, be gentle, right? Especially if it's wet grass, then you know that your possibility of slipping is greater, right? Because of less friction with the grass. So let's turn around here and let's talk about taking off from a grass strip here. So let's add some differential braking here. All right, so for takeoff, so again, we're still rolling after our little taxi there. So again, for takeoffs on grass, you still have your stick fully back here, and we're gonna wait for the aircraft's nose to come up, all right? Again, kind of predict when it does because you don't want to get a tail strike, but we're gonna have the nose just slightly in the air here. Let's see if Flight Sim can model this. That's weird. And the nose is off the ground, main gear's still on the ground until it goes up. There we go, ground effect until we hit our VX, which is 65. 65, hit it, you pull up. And once you're clear of obstacle, pitch for your VY. There you go, so that's basic. So again, you saw that where it's a little bit hard to do in Flight Sim. It's real easy to do in real life because, again, Flight Sim, it's really easy to over control because you don't have input back. But again, as you saw, we just protected the nose. It floated there. And then once the aircraft was up because of the attitude there, all you had to do was let it stay in ground effect until we hit VX, hit obstacle height, and then you can go to VY there if you're at an obstacle. Alright, so I'm just going to do an external view just so then you can kind of see how it looks with the nose. So I'm sorry in advance for this is not going to be the perfect takeoff, but I am going to make sure that we can see the nose so you can kind of see what's happening outside here. So as we kind of go, I'm assuming this is continuing straight. You just want to keep the nose off. I'm just trying to see if I can pause it like this. There we go. That's good. Flight sim. There you go. Still has its errors here. I finally got the camera free here. So basically when I'm rolling with the back pressure, the mains are still on the ground, as you can see, but we're keeping the nose wheel off the ground. So if there's like a bump or something, you aren't going to go down and hit the prop. You aren't going to strike the prop. But at the same time, you do have to be mindful, especially if you're a tricycle, like a DA40, that you don't strike the tail, especially if there's any bumps or anything, right? So again, maintain that back pressure until the aircraft gets off the ground, and then you want to stay in ground effect until you can get that VX here. And again, we aren't 90 knots, it's just flight sim's kind of sucky for keeping momentum in the active pause. So there you go, that's what that looks like outside of the plane when you do that. And just to prove it, for active pause, they still haven't fixed the entire momentum thing with flight sim, how you're paused, but for some reason your airspeed still increases. So good job, Microsoft. So with grass, again, it's basically just be gentle with the plane, land down at a normal feet per minute, depending on your aircraft. And again, you want to be gentle, right? Because it's grass, it's soil, it's not like a solid runway, right? And again, you're going to see that we're going to protect our nose wheel here. So again, just get into a nice, gentle rate of descent here. Let's go for around 71, not at the threshold. Depending on your aircraft, like for soft field, it might be like a little bit lower, so 65 for the DA40. But yeah, just keep that flare going, and we're gonna keep that nose wheel off the ground. All right. So and then when it comes down like this, I still have my back pressure here. Again, not so much as you're gonna get a tail strike, and then of course, use some nice soft braking here. That's a nice thing too, is that the grass can help you depending, you know, the length, everything else. But there you go. So, and then we can taxi off there. And remember, just like before, you're keeping back pressure on the stick here and looking out for any holes or anything else in the grass. And then let's say if here's our taxiway, we can keep on going. Oh, look, there's the fuel truck. We can go get some gas now. And there you go. Keep that power going. You will probably have to use a little bit more power than usual to keep a constant rate of taxi, especially with those turns. But of course, as soon as we get on a proper taxiway here, then you can bring the power back a bit, and then you can return the control column to your usual location. And there we go. We have survived the grass. We are back on normal taxiway again. How's that? We made it. I don't think that tower is it's not properly placed. There's no tower being let in from a good job, Microsoft. That's a well-placed asset there in the middle of the taxiway. All right, so yeah, there you go. That's the basics, ins and outs of grass strips. Again, every plane is different. Every landing is different. Same with takeoffs. Haha. But yeah, again, check out your different planes. Those are the basics. Again, with grass runways, you just want to protect your nose wheel. Make sure that you're gentle with things. Keep slight movement. Of course, you don't want to stand still if you can help it. You don't want to sink in the grass and join the swamp creatures. I'm just kidding with you. But yeah, no, it can be very rewarding flying into a grass strip. So besides learning more about your aircraft performance, there's a lot of really cool adventures you can go on, especially with aviation camping. Like if you're doing backcountry, or if you have a friend's airfield in their back area and you can land there or whatever. But yeah, I hope you guys can play around in flight sim, and maybe, because a lot of people don't really use grass fields, right? Like they just see the standard runway and they think that's it. No, there is a whole other world out there for you besides traditional runways. You can also go on grass strips, and heck, there's water too. If you got floats, you can go on water too. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed today's video. Just a cool little content to just to remind you that they're there. And if you do fly grass strips in real life like myself, where do you fly out of? Are there any other glider pilots or power pilots out there, or are you a commercial pilot who flies beavers? Let us know in the comments below. It'll be kind of cool to hear from you and to hear about your experiences. Anyways, as always, fly safe and happy landings.